Welcome to the Stoic Responder Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Healy. As a special agent who spent more than 15 years conducting large-scale fraud, money laundering, and public corruption investigations, Stoic philosophy provided a mindset edge that became the foundation of my professional success. My mission today is to share those same ancient mindset lessons with you so that you can turn obstacles into opportunities and adversity into advantage. Time to muster up. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Stoic Responder Podcast. This is episode 61, Discipline Yourself. It's going to be a quicker one today, folks. But before we get started, I want to remind you of our favorite 501c3 that supports the law enforcement community, and that is the Overwatch Collective. Overwatch Collective is a nonprofit podcast funding therapy sessions and supporting the mental health initiatives for our first responders, our veterans, and their families. The motto over there is one more is one less. And I take that to heart because one more individual that we can provide services to is one less statistic. Please check out the overwatchcollective.com. And if you've got a little bit of cash in your pocket and you can support them, buy a t-shirt, buy a coffee mug, send them $20. Could save a cop's life. Speaking of, this is Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month. September, the whole month, we're going to be talking a little bit about it here, but there's 3 things that each and every one of us can do to help save a life in our department, in our family, in our social circles. There's something that each and every one of us can do, and that is to remember the word ACT, A-C-T, ACT. The A in ACT stands for ask. If you've got somebody in your life that is exhibiting suicidal tendencies, exhibiting signs that they might be considering taking their life, ask them directly about it. Second letter of ACT is C, and C stands for care. Care, listen, be that lifeline that they need. If you're going to ask those questions, you have a duty to listen directly and to hear them out. And the T, of course, the most important letter in the word ACT is T, that stands for take action. Don't leave them hanging. Ask questions, listen, care, but then take action. Reach out to 988, the suicide prevention hotline. Reach out to 911, your local emergency services dispatcher. Reach out to your agency's employee assistance program. Reach out to the Overwatch Collective. Reach out to the Live Unconquered Foundation. Reach out to the Mighty Oaks Foundation. Reach out to me if you need to, and I will provide you the resources that I'm aware of. But the important thing is ask, care, and take action. That's how each and every one of us can help prevent someone from taking their lives. And as the Overwatch Collective says, one more is one less. One more individual we can save is one less statistic. So remember, you are powerful and you can help save a life. Let's jump into the show. I'm bringing you a quote from one of my favorite coaches, one of my favorite historical figures, somebody that I wish I could have sat down and had dinner or a cup of coffee with and just been in their presence. And that, of course, is the Wizard of Westwood, Mr. John Wooden, the famous and legendary coach of the UCLA Bruins. And John Wooden, though I don't know that he was a stoic, if he considered himself a stoic, he certainly, if you've read any of his books or read any of his quotes or know anything about him, he certainly had stoic tendencies. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, you see that I'm wearing a Bill Walton kind of memorial Bill Walton shirt. He, of course, famously played for John Wooden at UCLA before playing for the Trailblazers and later the Boston Celtics, won a couple of NBA titles, won some NCAA titles as a John Wooden disciple himself. So I'm kind of honoring the topic of today's podcast with my Bill Walton t-shirt. But legendary basketball coach John Wooden said, discipline yourself and others won't need to. Now, isn't that a Stoic concept, right? Self-discipline is kind of one of the tenets of Stoicism. John Wooden was famous, of course, for his own self-discipline across 40 years of coaching. In 1975, which was his final year at UCLA, he continued to put at least 2 hours of work into planning every detail of each of his 2-hour-long team practices. Think about that. He sat down for at least 2 hours to plan out every moment, every detail of a practice, not a game. Not a game. As Allen Iverson said, practice. We're talking about practice. 2 hours of planning into every single detail of a 2-hour-long team practice. He would demonstrate the same exact commitment to excellence and forethought that he expected from his players when he did that, right? He would sit down and put so much thought and commitment into designing how practice was going to run that his players would respect that. He expected that same level of excellence from them to show up with the same level of excellence that he brought. And that effort obviously paid off, right? Wooden won 10 national championships, including the 1975 championship, which was his final game as a head coach. He was relentless. He was relentless in his commitment, not just to playing well, but to preparing to play well. You see, Wooden said another quote, "I welcome good luck just as anyone does, but I worked extremely hard to avoid being in a situation in which luck was necessary to produce a favorable outcome, or where the luck of an adversary could defeat us. To me, luck can be important. Much more important, of course, is design." That's a longer way of saying discipline yourself and others won't need to, right? He's saying, yeah, luck is great. I appreciate luck. I appreciate it as much as anyone does. Luck's wonderful. When the ball bounces the right way, that's great. That's good luck. But I do everything that I can leading up to that moment to make sure that if the ball bounces the right way or the wrong way, I've put myself in a position by design, by preparation, by relentless commitment to excellence, to not let luck going the other way be the difference. That takes discipline. We get a whole lot luckier when we are consistently prepared, when we are consistently excellent, when we do things like spend 2 long hours planning out every detail of a practice that's going to take 2 hours long. Much more important than luck is design. And we get a whole lot luckier when we're consistently prepared. So I'll leave you with this thought. Set you off into your weekend with this. You want to be luckier? Be more disciplined. You want to be luckier? Be more prepared. You want to have more favorable outcomes? Remember what you control. Luck is the great external factor. None of us control it. What we do control are actions, our efforts, our attitudes, our reactions. That is preparation. That is discipline. The more you discipline yourself, the luckier you tend to get. Let me leave you with a journal prompt here. Take out your Big Chief notebook, take out your pen and write this down. Am I consistently preparing for success? The answer is, of course, no. You are not consistently preparing for success. I am not consistently preparing for success. The most successful person you know is probably not consistently preparing for success. So after you write down NO, ask yourself, where can I become more disciplined so that luck is less important and my relentless preparation is more important? In other words, where can I tip the scales? Where can I stop relying on luck and start relying on consistency? So am I preparing for success? You're going to answer no. Or am I consistently preparing for success? But then you're going to ask yourself, where can I be more prepared? You're going to start identifying areas of your life where you have been relying on luck, and you're going to rely on preparation. You're going to rely on discipline. You're going to lean into it. That's how I'll send you off into the weekend. Folks, if you would like to support this podcast, a couple ways that you can do so. Number one, you can pick up a copy of my book, In Valor, 365 Stoic Meditations for First Responders. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere you get your books. If you have picked up a copy of that book and you're enjoying it, do me a huge favor. Go back onto Amazon and write a review. Drop 5 stars if you think it's worth it, but leave me a review if you could. I'd really appreciate it. But this book is great. It's a great resource for law enforcement and first responders, really anyone who wants to practice this philosophy daily. It's going to give you quotes, contextualization. It's going to be directly relatable to your job. It's also going to give you some of these daily journal prompts like the one I just gave you, or maybe some action items. They're going to help you integrate these lessons and live in more accordance with what the Stoics would tell us to do. Number two, you can subscribe to the Stoic Responder for free on Substack. That page is at thestoicresponder.substack.com. If you go and you subscribe there for free, you can get all 4 podcasts delivered into your inbox on a daily basis. You can also get the newsletter that I send out 1, sometimes 2 times a week. That's going to give you some additional tips, tools, and tactics. I talk about a lot of stuff on there. this week's newsletter was about the suicide crisis within the Department of Homeland Security, something that we should all be paying attention to. Last week's issue was about burnout, about how burnout is impacting us that happen to be working in high stress environments. So there's a lot of good stuff that you're only going to get if you subscribe to the Stoic Responder on Substack. You can find that at thestoicresponder.substack.com for free. And finally, like, share, and subscribe this podcast so that others can learn about the philosophical musings going on over here and can avail themselves of the wisdom of the great Stoics. Thanks so much, folks. Been another great week. We'll see you on Tuesday. Until next time, you are out of roll. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to subscribe, like, rate, and share this podcast so that we can spread the benefits of Stoicism to other first responders. It will only take you a few moments, but it can help us tremendously. Until next time, out of roll.